we are going to learn how to graph linear inequalities. Okay? So, we've already learned how to graph linear equations, and we've already learned how to solve inequalities. So now we're going to just make sure we know how to graph inequalities. So at the top of your page, if you would separate this into 4 sections by drawing 3 lines. The first one we're going to talk about is a greater than. When you have a sign that's greater than, but not equal to, your line should be dashed. Everybody hear me? Okay, because it's not equal, you're going to make a dashed line. And then greater than, you're going to shade above. Because greater than goes up. Now, if you're ever confused, like it doesn't really look up, you could also shade right. Up and right is greater. So what's less? Down and left, okay? All right, so let's talk about greater than or equal to. I'll just put it right here. Greater than or equal to. What's going to be different? A solid line. So I would have a solid line still shaded above. Okay, less than. What would my line look like? Would it be dashed or solid? Dashed. And where would I shade? Below. Okay, and then we have less than or equal to. What's going to be different? This time my line would be solid and shaded below. So you already know how to graph any equation. All you have to do is put it in y equals mx plus b form. Put the y-intercept, rise over run with your slope. Then you're just going to look, is it going to be a dashed line or a solid line? And then which way am I going to shade? Does that make sense? Yes. Okay. Real quick, let's look at inequalities based off of is a solution an ordered pair. So they said, which ordered pair is not a solution of this inequality? You can simply plug them in for the inequality and see if it's true or false. So let's try this one out. So I would do 0 minus 4 times y, which is also 0, is less than or equal to 7. Well, what is 0 minus 0? 0. Is 0 less than or equal to 7? Yes, so this is a solution, meaning if I graphed this inequality, the point 0, 0 would be in the shaded region. It is a solution. So this one is good, but I'm looking for one that's not. Okay, let's try this one. So x is 7. So I have 7 minus 4 times y, and y is negative 1, is less than or equal to 7. Negative 4 times negative 1 is positive 4, and 7 plus 4 is what? 11? Is 11 less than or equal to 7? No. So therefore, this point right here would not fall in the shaded area of these graphs. So this would be your answer. It is not a solution of this. And let's just go check this one out just to show you. So I would do x minus 4 times y. So x is negative 4 minus 4 times y is less than or equal to 7. And I would test it out. Well, negative 4 times 3 is negative 12. So negative 4 minus 12 is less than or equal to 7. And negative 4 minus 12 is what? Negative 16 is less than or equal to 7. Is that one true? Is negative 16 less than or equal to 7? That is true. So this point would also fall in the shaded area of this inequality when we graph it. Okay? So a solution to an inequality is any point that falls anywhere that you would shade it or on the solid line. Now, if it's a dashed line like this, if it falls right here on the dashed line, that is not a solution because dashed is not equal. Does that make sense? But anything in the shaded area would be a solution. Okay? Let's look at the first one. They want us to graph this inequality. So the first thing I'm going to do is get my dots to put on it by having an M and a B. What is the y-intercept? -3. What would my rise over run be? 4 over 1. So I'm going to start at -3. And since it's positive, I'm going to go up and right. So up, 1, 2, 3, 4, right 1. And you definitely want enough dots because sometimes you're graphing to see what's a solution and you want to make sure you do it really good. So up 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, right 1. I could also go down 4, left 1. And that's all that would fit. Now, before you go connect the dots, you're going to ask yourself, would this be a solid line or a dashed line? So you're going to take your ruler or straight edge and connect the dots, but just when you do it, you're going to make sure that it's a dashed line. Now, I don't want to confuse you with the left or right thing because this is a what type of sign? Greater than. And since this line, whenever I'm talking about left or right, I'm talking about a straight vertical line. Greater is right, less is left. But because this is not a straight vertical line, you're still going to shade up because it's greater. This is going down this way. Does that make sense? But over here it's going what? So if when you shade, if you can go up like you're going to go to the sun, that's greater than. See, I can't go up here because up would hit the line. So I would have to go down. So if that confuses you or helps you out. Does that make sense? Yes or no? Greater than is up. So I got to shade up. So everything in the shaded area are solutions. Does that make sense? So these are all solutions. Would this be a solution right here, this dot? No, because it falls on the dashed line. Make sense? All right, let's go do the next one. Right here, y is less than 1. Now, do y'all remember how to graph these? If it said y equals 1, it's going to be a straight line passing through the y-axis at 1. Y'all remember this? Yes or no? Okay. So I'm just going to go to my y-axis to 1. And now I have to decide, do I want a solid line or a dashed line? Look at it. What am I going to do? The dashed line. Okay, which way am I going to shade if y is less than? Above or below? Less than, below. So everything down here are what? Solutions. Would this point right here be a solution? No, because it falls on the dashed line. Make sense? Yes? Okay. Let's go to this one. Graph the inequality. Can you graph it if it looks like this? What do we need to do first? Now, very quick, what do we remember about inequalities? If we multiply or divide by a, negative. The sign has to reverse or flip. Yes? Remember, just look if the coefficient to the y is negative, then it's going to flip. So you could tell right here this is not going to flip because that coefficient is positive. Okay, all right, let's go rearrange it. The first thing I'm going to do is add a coefficient to this x. What is it going to be? A 1. How am I going to move this 1x to the other side? So I have 2y is less than negative 1x plus 0, which I'm not going to write it because I don't need it. I'm now going to divide by 2, and since I'm dividing by a positive, my sign does not reverse. And now I can identify the slope and the y-intercept. So I need an m and a b. What is the b over here?
0.
So if I have a 0, my rise, I'm going to go down 1 and right 2. Or you could go up 1 and left 2. So I'm going to go to 0, 0 and put a dot. I'm going to go down 1 and right 2. Or up 1, left 2. Will my line be solid or dashed? Dashed. Now, real quick, guys, don't look at the original problem because you might have to flip that sign. Always look at the one that you fixed. What does the sign say? Less than. So am I going to shade up towards the sun or down to the ground? Down to the ground. And your shading doesn't have to be beautiful. It just has to be, I have to be able to tell where you shaded. Are we good? Okay, turn the page. Let's change this one and let's put an or equal to sign. Everybody got theirs changed? Okay. We didn't do that because you're allowed to do that. We did that because I should have put it on the notes, okay? Because I didn't put enough examples like that. All right. Is this one in the correct form to graph?
Yes.
Yes. So I need an M and a B. What is the y-intercept?
1.
Okay. What is the rise over run?
3/9.
Okay. Since it's positive, I'll go up and right or down and left. So I'm going to go to the y-axis to 1. And I'm going to go up 3, right 1. Or down 3, left 1. Now, because this one is less than or equal to, this one's line will be solid. Okay, look at the sign. It is a less than sign. So am I going to shade up to the sun or down to the ground? Down to the ground. What's the only way to get down to the ground? Right here. Yes? Like if you can't draw where you could go all the way to the ground, then you're not going down. Now, real quick, let's talk about solutions. Everything right here is a, and everything on this line is also a, why? Because the line is solid. Okay, let's go to this one. What's the first thing we're going to need to do? Rearrange it. Okay, now just check out the coefficient. Is it positive or negative? So I'm probably going to leave this sign alone. Yes? Okay, let's go do it. The first thing I'm going to do is put a coefficient of 1 in front of the x. and then I'm going to move the 1x by subtraction. So I have 4y is less than negative 1x minus 8. I'm then going to get rid of the 4 by dividing everything by 4. And then I'm going to simplify. Y is less than negative 1/4 x minus, what's 8 divided by 2? 2. I need an m and a b. What is the b? Negative 2. What is the rise over run? Negative 1 over 4. So I'm going to go down 1, right 4. So I'm going to start on the y-axis at negative 2. Am I going too fast or y'all okay? Okay. I'm going to go down 1 and right 4. Or up 1, left 4. Will this be a solid line or a dashed line? Okay, since it's a less than sign, am I going to shade up to the sun or down to the ground? It's a less than sign, down to the ground. Okay, everything over here is not a solution, including the dots on the line. Because it is dashed, everything over here is a solution. Okay, let's look at the next one. What do I need to do first? Rearrange. Now stop and let's talk about it. Is the coefficient of the y a negative? So what is going to happen to this sign? It's going to flip. All right, but first I'm going to put a coefficient of 1 in front of the x. I'm going to get rid of the 1x by subtracting. So I have negative 3y is greater than negative 1x minus 1. Right here, when I divide everything by negative 3, my sign is going to reverse. So I'm going to go y, and instead of greater than, it's going to be less than. Simplify that is 1/3 x plus 1/3. Now, for this one, I don't want to have to graph with a y-intercept here. You could, or you could just go to your y equals button and type that in to get some points, right? All right, so I'm going to go to my y equals button. I'm going to type in 1/3 x plus 1/3. I'm going to go to my table, second graph, and just see some points that I can graph. So I'm going to graph negative 1, 0. What else can I do? Negative 4, negative 1. Negative 10, negative 3. Okay, now let me go get some positives. 2, 1. 5, 2. And 8, 3. See how that made that easier to graph by using my y equals button? Okay. Now, Here's where people get confused. They go back to the original problem and they see greater than, and they want to shade above. But you have to use this one, which is what? Less than. So I'm going to do a dashed line. And since it's less than, I'm going to shade down to the ground. Are y'all catching on? So greater than is up to the sun, less than is down to the ground. All right, let's do this one. Let's add an equal to sign, since we've only done one. So anytime it looks like this and there's no like mx plus b, it's just a number, I'm going to go to the y-axis to -3, and it's going to cross through there, right? Since it's or equal to, it's going to be a solid line. Okay, since it's greater than, where am I going to shade? Up. Okay, now we're going to do opposite. They are going to give us the graph, and we are going to write an equation from it, which these two graphs are the exact same, so we're only going to do one of them. That was an error on my part. So everybody look, to write an equation, what do you need? An M and a B. So find the y-intercept. Where is it touching the y-axis at? -2. The line is going up, so it's positive slope, and my rise from here to here was 1, and my run is 2. So 1/2, and again, it's positive because up and right. Okay, I'm not going to put y equals, because this is an inequality, but it's going to be y is something to 1/2 x minus 2. So now I have to figure out the sign. Which way is it shaded? Up to the sun. So this is greater than. Do I put an or equal to sign? Is it solid or dashed? So it's not going to get an or equal to sign. That is my answer. Questions? Okay, let's go do this last one. It says, student council has 30 members made up of 7th and 8th graders. Write and graph an inequality that describes the different possible numbers of 7th and 8th grade students. List 2 possible combinations. Now everybody look, you've got to decide, am I going to write this in mx plus b, or am I going to write this in standard? Look at the x-axis, what is it labeled? Look at the y-axis, what is it labeled? mx plus b, you only use if the y-axis is like a cost, or like, you know what I mean, like a total. Since they're 2 variables, what are we going to use? Standard form. So I'm looking for ax plus by equals c. So basically, 7th grade students plus 8th grade students will equal the total. Yes? Do we know how many 7th grade or 8th grade students? So can we call, what are we going to call the x? 7th grade has to be the x, right? So just x plus y. Now hold on, is it equal 30? It does say has 30, so it would be equal. But let's say it has at least 30 members, so that it matches our lesson today. So it has at least. So what kind of sign would that be? So it has less than 30 or it has at least? Greater than or equal to 30. Meaning it can be bigger than that. Okay, now that I have it in standard, I can either solve for the intercepts or I can rearrange it to slope-intercept form. Yes? I'm going to solve for intercepts. You want to see how? But we're going to have to see how to shade it, so we would have to rearrange it. But to solve for intercepts, are y'all ready? If I cover the x, what does y equal? 30. If I cover the y, what does x equal? So the intercepts are 30 and 30. You'll see what I'm saying? What do y'all want to count by fives? So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Same thing over here. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Okay, would it be a solid line or dashed? Even if I rearrange this, it's still going to have an or equal to sign. Y'all agree? Okay, it's going to be solid. If I rearrange this, would my sign flip? Does the y have a negative coefficient? No. So would my sign flip? No. So it's greater than. So which way would I shade? Up to the sun. Okay, let me get y'all your assignment. On 1 through 15, all you're going to do is tell whether the ordered pair is a solution. So you're going to say yes or no. If you want, you can put it straight into the calculator to see. So like for number 1, I could say well, that's too easy. Let me go do a harder one. Let me go do number 15. Number 15 is negative 2 times y is 6, plus 7 times x, which is negative 1. Negative 19 is negative 19 greater than or equal to negative 20. Think before you answer, please. Think about a number line. Is negative 19 greater than negative 20? Yes. So y'all see how to do those, yes? Make sure you're thinking logically about your negatives, yes? Okay, on 16 through 18, you're going to match an inequality with the graph. You're going to have to rearrange them, okay? And on number 17 is the coefficient of y negative. So that sign's going to do what? It's going to flip. Okay, on 19 through 24, you are going to graph the inequality. If you want to use your calculator to get the coordinates, you can. It just has to be in y equals mx plus b. Or you can just do what's the slope, what's the y-intercept. It's totally up to you. Make sure it's a dashed line for this one. And what kind of line for this one? Solid. Greater than, up to the sun, less than, down to the ground. All right, get busy.